the Middle East. Give us the lowdown. Give us the rundown. What is happening there? What's happening among the Israeli people? What is Bibi Netanyahu thinking? What's happening with Hamas? What kind of a deal has been put on the table? What is it, the leadership in Qatar? You see, I can get all my questions out. I mean, give us a full lay of the land, and then we can sort of probe areas of interest.
Mitt, thank you. And before trying to tackle that multi-part question, actually, it sounds like the reporters in my pool who managed to get in 5 questions for one. First, let me say how wonderful it is to be here and to be with a truly remarkable group of people. I think there's a common denominator in this room, and it's epitomized by John McCain, it's epitomized by Mitt Romney, but everyone in this room is for an engaged America. Everyone in this room believes that our engagement, our leadership matters, makes a difference. And that commitment is more important than it's ever been. That's what I'm seeing and feeling around the world. Now, it may be that years from now, people come back here and look at this group and it's the La Brea tar pits of internationalists and institutionalists, but we're fighting to make sure that's not the case. And no one has fought harder than the gentleman sitting to my right. Now, Mitt, I was going to say thank you for reading the lines that I wrote. I appreciate that. But I think you all know, the country all knows, Mitt Romney is a man of extraordinary principle, married to extraordinary pragmatism. It's a rare combination. And I've gotten to see that up close these last few years. You've been in the Senate, but for me, it's an honor to share the stage with you. So thank you. And to the entire McCain family, starting with Cindy, following in the footsteps of John McCain. There too, I've gotten to work with Cindy these last few years. You are doing what is maybe the greatest calling anyone could have, which is trying to make sure that parents can put food on the table for their kids. And when it comes down to it, nothing matters more than that. So to you, to the entire family that remains so engaged, it's wonderful to be here and to share this evening with you. Now, I have to tell you, and maybe the Middle East is actually, it's a perfect segue to the Middle East. But let me just say quickly, before we were coming out here, we were listening, Dasha, we were listening to you. And the senator and I had the same reaction. Let's go in the other direction because we don't want to follow Dasha. Thank you for your extraordinary profile in dignity and in courage. And I can only imagine how proud your dad would be of you. So when I'm asked how it's going, and the Middle East is usually the first thing I'm asked about, I actually tend to quote John McCain. John McCain used to say, "It's always darkest before it goes completely black." So, and I thank you, Cindy, for letting me borrow that. But now to get serious for a minute. So, in this moment, the best thing that can happen would be for the agreement that's on the table, that's being considered by Hamas, to have a ceasefire, the release of hostages, the possibility of really surging humanitarian assistance to people who so desperately need it. That's what we're focused on. And as I was talking to various colleagues this morning, and I see one of my closest colleagues, John Feiner, the Deputy National Security Advisor here, we await a response from Hamas. We await to see whether, in effect, they can take yes for an answer on the ceasefire and release of hostages. And the reality in this moment is the only thing standing between the people of Gaza and a ceasefire is Hamas. So we look to see what they will do. In the meantime, even as we're doing that, we are working every single day. The President's working every single day to make sure that we are doing what we can so that the people in Gaza who are caught in a crossfire of Hamas's making get the help, the assistance, the support they need. And we're doing that with partners like the World Food Program, and of course, We're working with many other governments. We're working with Israel. I was just there, as you said, and I got to see firsthand some of the progress that's been made in recent weeks in actually getting assistance to people who need it. Progress is real. It's still not enough. And we are trying to make sure that in everything we do, we're supporting those efforts. If you step back, I think we've seen a few things in the last few weeks. Some incredibly promising, others incredibly daunting. And to start with the daunting, we now have, with Israelis and Palestinians, two absolutely traumatized societies. And when this conflict ends, building back from that trauma is going to be an extraordinary task. We also see in all directions, and I think we're seeing this not only in the region, we're seeing it around the world. To some extent, we're seeing it in our own country. Maybe the biggest poison that we have to fight constantly, and that is dehumanization. The inability to see the humanity in the other. And when that happens, hearts get hardened and everything becomes so much more difficult. So the other great task that I think we're going to have when we get through this is to build back that sense of common humanity. And I hope we can do that amongst ourselves as well. But there's also some promise. There's promise in that one of the things we've been working on for a long time with the President's leadership over many months is seeking to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And for Israel, this would be the realization of something that it sought from day one of its existence, normal relations with other countries in the region. This is something we were working on before October 7th. In fact, I was due to go to Israel and Saudi Arabia on October 10th to work on this, and in particular, to work on the Palestinian piece of the puzzle. Because for us, for the Saudis, if we're able to move forward on normalization, it has to include also moving forward on the aspirations of the Palestinian people. So I think there's an equation that you can see, a different path that countries in the region can be on and really want to be on, which is a path of integration, a path where Israel's relations with its neighbors are normalized, a path where Israel's security is actually looked out for, including by its neighbors, a path where Palestinians achieve their political rights, and a path in which the biggest threat to Israel, to most of the countries in the region, and a threat that we share, Iran, is actually isolated. Now, whether we can move from the moment that we're in to actually start to travel down that path, that's going to be a big challenge. But you can see it, and it's something that the President is determined to try to pursue if we have the opportunity to do it. One other thing on this. We saw something related that was quite extraordinary about 2 weeks ago. Iran engaged in an unprecedented attack on Israel, the first direct attack from Iran to Israel. And some people said, well, it was designed so it wouldn't do much damage, carefully calibrated. Nothing of the sort. More than 300 projectiles launched at Israel, including more than 100 ballistic missiles. John and I were in the Situation Room watching this unfold. It's because Israel had very effective defenses, but also because the President, the United States, managed to rally on short notice a collection of countries to help. That damage was not done. And that also shows something in embryonic form, the possibilities that Israel has for, again, being integrated, a regional security architecture that can actually, I think, keep the peace effectively for years to come. So that's where we want to go. But getting from here to there, of course, requires that the war in Gaza come to an end. And right now, the quickest path to that happening would be through this ceasefire and hostage deal.
I think a number of folks, myself included, have wondered why Hamas has not agreed to other proposals with regards to a ceasefire. What are we misunderstanding? What is their calculation? Why are they hesitating? This, I mean, we read about what's being proposed. It sounds like a no-brainer, but they must have a different calculation. What is going through their head? I mean, they want to just be martyrs? Is that, I mean, what is it that they hope to carry out, and why have they not just jumped on this as saying, "Oh yeah, this is fantastic"?
One of the challenges we have, of course, is that the leaders of Hamas that we're indirectly engaged with, through the Qataris, through the Egyptians, are of course living outside of Gaza, living in Qatar, living in Turkey, other places. And the ultimate decision makers are the folks who are actually in Gaza itself, with whom none of us have direct contact. So trying to understand what they're thinking is a challenge. Now, we have some sense of it, but it's far from perfect. And there are different theories about what's actually motivating their decisions in this time. It's something we're constantly trying to get at. But I can't give you a definitive answer. And I think we'll see, depending on what they actually do in this moment, whether in fact the Palestinian people, whom they purport to represent, if that's actually true. Because if it is true, then taking the ceasefire should be a no-brainer, as you said. But maybe something else is going on, and we'll have a better picture of that in the coming days.
Tell us about Bibi Netanyahu